Okay, so it's Saturday afternoon, and it's gotten a little quieter around here. A bunch of the kids went out to just do some stuff that they need to take care of. So I have a moment here, and I just had an interesting instant. So this is lesson number 283. My true identity abides in you, and I was reminded a second ago. This is the funny part that we also need to consider when we do this lesson, the Holy Spirit and the function given the Holy Spirit by our Father, by our Creator, in the contemplation that we read prior to doing this lesson. Because I was sitting here, I had read the lesson, and I was sitting here, and it came to me, it dawned on me, part of the problem that we have, even conceptually, let alone experientially, because once the experience comes, you understand full well what it means. But the idea that we can share one thing wholly and nobody miss part of it because everybody gets the entirety of it and there's no sacrifice is alien to the world of space and time and alien to our mind. So imagine the idea of a shared identity wherein which the nature is wholeness. Okay, nothing here in space and time can be shared wholly. Only thing that can be shared is ideas. We can begin to learn how to share ideas, but nothing physical can be shared. So as I was thinking, this is part of the problem we have. Father, I made an image of myself, and is this I call the Son of God, which many of you laugh at, from the standpoint of having had an experience of who you are, not, I would say, separate from the image, but in the recognition of the unreality of the image of who you are as being an illusion, and an illusion that's participating in an entirety of a world of space and time, all of which is an illusion. Along those lines, there's all this talk about aliens, and somebody asked me a question about aliens the other day, and it was a course student, and I just had to stop, and my only response could be, which part of this is an illusion would aliens be excluded from? This is an entirety of an illusion. Just tell me, I made an image of myself, and is this I call the Son of God? Yet is creation as it always was, for your creation is unchangeable. Let me not worship idols. I am He my Father loves. My holiness remains the light of heaven and the love of God. Is not what is beloved of you secure? Is not the light of heaven infinite? Is not your Son my true identity when you created everything that is? Now we are one in shared identity with our God, our Father, as our only source. And this is an interesting part. And everything created part of us. And so we offer blessing to all things, uniting lovingly with all the world, which our forgiveness has made one with us. And remember, every time you hear the word forgiveness, associate it with the grace of God, the grace and love of God, transmitted through the Holy Spirit's ability to take an idea, such as we were just talking about, the idea that I make the world. Okay. Now, when we have forgiven ourselves for the guilt and fear that is associated with our being in the world and much more even making the world of space and time, when we've forgiven ourselves and recognizing that it's not affected any of our identity, it hasn't affected any of our brothers in any way, it hasn't affected or changed reality, and certainly it hasn't alienated us from our Father. Okay? When we can begin to recognize that, the fear and guilt that we projected over everything begins to give way to understanding of who we are and the inclusion of everything as part of what we are, no matter what it is we are. Okay? Because that's what this is saying. Everything created, part of us. And now we are one in a shared identity with God, our Father, as our source, and everything created as part of us. So as I was saying, then, now the idea of a shared identity, okay, we can't picture that because we always picture, as if it's in them. Okay, you've had a shared relationship in which you were married or in which you had a partner, and all of a sudden it's split up, and now from everything you have to abstract yourself and what it is you want and should get, and he has to abstract, or she has to abstract herself from everything that she wants and thinks she should get, and you had, based on all that, you cannot get all of it. Now, that's what I was reminded. That is where the Holy Spirit steps in to show us that the sharing of an identity is not based on any of the rules of the world, and in fact, all the rules of the world that we utilize to attempt to understand what it means to share an identity will keep us, in fact, from sharing an identity, because there is nothing in the world that resembles it, quite frankly, because there's no such thing as that type of sharing in the world other than at the level of ideas. And we can share ideas wholly because we are a whole shared idea in the mind of God, as He is a whole shared idea in our mind and in all minds. And the Holy Spirit is the bridge that allows us to utilize an idea like, okay, how can there be shared wholeness when in the world of space and time or partiality, everything is limited, and in an attempt to share it, you make less of each part. Okay? The word that we've been using is I'll remember in a second. The word that we have been using is unequivocal. Okay, at that point, when you realize that you cannot understand how that's possible, if you don't equivocate and not use your ideas to solve the problem, recognizing that the solution is not within the solution to the problem is not within the mind that made the problem. That is the unequivocal call that goes out to the Holy Spirit that allows Him to join in your mind and show you what a shared whole identity is, because He shares His whole identity with you, and He shares His whole identity with God our Father, and then He mediates and places Himself right where God put Him in the shared whole space that makes us and keeps us one with our Father and with all of creation. My true identity abides in you. Abides. It's a great word. Abide in me, as I abide in you. This is lesson 283. Remember, the Holy Spirit is the mediator, and it is an unequivocal call. Let me not worship idols. Okay? There's a section that goes this, you have no idea what an idol is. An idol is anything that you have made to keep you searching outside of yourself for something that is already within you. And you think you know what an idol is, but we have made idol of the world that which we have made and have forgotten. So today, we don't have to know what all the idols are that we worship or have made. We just have to know we no longer want them. And in the admission that it was the power of our mind that allowed us to think we wanted them and knew not that we made them, in the recognition that we made them becomes the understanding of how, in the turning over to the Holy Spirit and God, we can unmake them and free ourselves from the illusion we've locked ourselves in. That has caused us to think that we're separate from everything in the world of space and time, when the truth of the matter is we're perfectly at home and safe in the shared identity with God our Father and with everything. And nothing is separate from us. And you'll begin to get glimpses of it. And then you'll recognize, oh my, it's all one. We are one. We are all one. And it goes beyond the idea of codependency to interdependency. And equality in an interdependency of a collaborative venture, wherein which the single purpose is the recognition of who we are as God created us, and salvation from that which can never be and never has been who we are, as we give up the world of space and time and begin to remember our true identity abides in you, our Father, as you abide in us, and we abide in each other. Okay, thanks guys.